Hi, everybody. My name is Zeb Wellborn, president of the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce. Today, I'm here with Heathe Jones. Heath, would you mind telling me a little bit about your chamber? And yeah, tell me a little bit about your chamber.
Yeah, my name is Heathe Jones. I'm the CEO of the Dinuba Chamber of Commerce. We're here in Central Valley, California. Our population is about 25,000 people, so it's a small community. But we're very much regionally connected with our partners in Tulare, in Reedley, and Visalia, and Exeter, and we work really close together with the Sequoia Tourism Group too.
Awesome. And then today, so we are talking about artificial intelligence, probably a little bit of ChatGPT, and then a bunch of other stuff. So I'm excited to go over that with you today because I think there's tons of implications for the chamber industry. And you and I got together on exchange some Facebook messages and talked about, hey, we should do something on that. So let's get. I want you to kick it off. So tell me about AI. What are you doing with it? How's it working?
So I think that it seems multifaceted. So we've been using AI, right? We've been using AI for a really long time. We've used things like Quillbot and even Google has already started integrating that within the email system of predictive text.
All right, hold on. What is Quillbot?
So Quillbot is a program that you can take information, and if you want to find other words or if you want to re-summarize what it says, you copy and paste it from an article and you can put it into that, and it kind of reframes the wording for it.
Okay,
So
cool.
it's very similar. It's kind of used in tangent with Grammarly. Do you guys use Grammarly?
No.
Okay, so Grammarly, if you're not using Grammarly, that's a great place to start because Grammarly goes in and it fixes all of our really bad punctuation. If you're uncomfortable with the presentation that you need to give, it can give you alternate words. It can simplify, so you can take your presentation or your essay or whatever that is and upload it into it, and then you can say, I want it to sound more professional, or maybe I'm speaking to a group of sixth graders and I want it to be more simplified, and it can reword that as such. So it's really helpful, especially if you're doing like grant prep or anything like that. It can help you do that. It also can take, if you're wordy like me, it can take this really long diatribe of information and then say, cut this down to 500 words.
Cool, awesome. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm learning stuff already. Okay, so keep going.
So we've seen this over the years. Like Quillbot isn't new. Grammarly isn't new. But we've definitely, like, if you feel like AI is ever evolving more and faster than ever, I mean, it's true. Like every month we're seeing more and more products out there. And with that, there's a lot of fear. Like you have like the robots are taking over the world kind of stuff. And especially in the business community, we hear like this is going to remove jobs. But really what we're seeing is this is not removing jobs, but it's adding potential for additional revenue or better productivity. And it certainly opens it up for people that are staying on top of things to have additional opportunities.
Yeah, for sure. And it's one of those things where, I don't know if I've shared this before, but I'm a history major. I taught high school history for years. So we studied a lot about the emergence of technologies and how it changes the way that we work or that we live. And this is one of those things. I read an article the other day that it said that it was going to replace something like 70 million jobs, but it was also going to create 90 million jobs. And so that's
Right.
the way that we should be looking at this is this is something that is not going to go away. It's something that we need to learn how to use and be good at and proficient at, so that we can go into the next phase of things. But so you mentioned that it's not new. For me, this is new because I hadn't used any of those tools before. I mean, there's a little bit of automation things that happen, but I wouldn't have called that artificial intelligence. I would have just called it automation, where you're like Facebook autoresponders or whatever it is. So for me, this is new, and I just dove into it maybe like 2 or 3 months ago, and it's just phenomenal at what you can do with it. And so let's start with that. So give me a little bit about how you're using it. What are some of the things that you feel like are beneficial for the chamber industry?
Well, I mean, I'm not sure what your demographics are with your members, but our members are made up of a lot of small businesses. And in those businesses, many of them only have 1 to 2 people involved in the business. And sometimes that's family, sometimes that's just a husband and wife. Sometimes it might just be a high school employee with the owner. And so their resources, it's not really about job creation because they're kind of roped into, their business model at 2 employees. But this allows them to do far more. So many times, and I know that you've done some social media coaching and so forth, and marketing coaching. And I know that's overwhelming. Even still, like we've been doing social media, like you need social media. Like we've been doing that for years now, it seems like, and I still have business owners that are just like, I don't have the capacity for it. I don't know how to use it. It's overwhelming. And this, you can use things. Jasper AI is similar to ChatGPT. And it has pre-made prompts in it. So it says like Facebook, like prompting, or social media ideas, Instagram, YouTube captions. And then you just go in and say, St. Patrick's Day coffee. And then it'll come up with 10 randomized responses with social media posts that you could do for St. Patrick's Day coffee. And then you can take each of those and you can copy that. You can export it as an Excel CSV. No, am I saying that right? But you can export it as an Excel sheet, upload it into something like Canva, and then you can go down to the apps part of Canva and then bring that into an image, and then all of a sudden you've got 10 Facebook posts that you can schedule. So that's a very simplified version. It sounds, there's some steps there, but it's very simplified. It's not too cumbersome when you're doing it, and you're spending maybe 15 minutes, and then you've got social media posts for the rest of the week.
All right, so let's peel it back a little bit, because if I were not the social media savvy person that I am, I would have taken that and been a little bit like, I'm not quite sure what that means.
Sure.
So let's go like big picture wise. So let's talk about the big picture stuff of AI and how it relates to your businesses or to chambers of commerce. Give me a big picture overview of that first.
Big picture overview for the chamber. I think it allows us a platform to help businesses move into that next kind of scary generation. Even Bill Gates was in an interview the other day, and he said, this is the biggest invention since the internet. And that's a pretty big thing coming from Bill Gates. And so I think Microsoft has invested like $10 billion into ChatGPT. So clearly, this is meaningful. Microsoft will be rolling it out into everything that they do to create slideshows for businesses, to create automatic emails for people, generated responses kind of in a bigger way than we've kind of seen in the past. Google's doing something similar to that too. And I think we're going to see that like battle of the tech gods between Microsoft and Google. We've kind of seen that as it's rolled out in the last couple months. But so I think that it's going to affect every business that I know either uses Microsoft or Google. So if those changes are going to be made to the programs that we've kind of grown up in business, our professional lives always using, we need to know how to use them, because it's going to affect, you're not going to be able to opt out of this. It's going to be integrated in everything. It's going to change how SEO works for our websites. It could change image editing and so forth. So I think every business even on the smallest scale of email will be affected by it.
Yeah, and here's what my takeaways on it is it just rapidly speeds up the process of getting stuff done. You had alluded to doing social media posting. So when I'm doing social media posting, and that is something that I did as my business before I got involved in Chamber, it's a business that I still run and own. But essentially you're creating the content. So you're creating that text for the content. You're creating that takes a lot of time to put together something pretty good if I'm using my brain to think about it. You're coming up with ideas on like what you should post. So if I go into, and I'll just use ChatGPT because that's the one that I've been using. If I go in there, I just say very simply, hey, I don't know what to post about this week. Give me 10 ideas of things that I can post about on social media. It will spit out 10 ideas, and I can choose the ones I like, choose the ones I don't like. the ones that I do like, I can say, okay, I really like this one. Let's post more like this. Give me 10 more posts that are like this. And within seconds, you're doing something that would have taken me probably 3 or 4 days to do, to put all that content together and put it together well. So that's kind of the big scope and scale from a social media standpoint. That's just social media. There's like thousands of other, I mean, millions of other
Oh,
applications that you
I'm
can
sure
do.
that I haven't even like scratched the surface of really what it's used for. We've used it to analyze labor costs of people's P&Ls. We've used it to go into analyzing menus to see how it can be rearranged or items can be taken off to cut back on food waste. And so you could use it like in a million different areas of our budget planning. And now it has the capability of analyzing images too. So, I mean, at some point you'll be able to take a picture of your refrigerator and say, "Hey, what can I make for dinner?" And it'll tell you, it'll give you ideas. So, like, there's some really cool things that I haven't even played around with yet.
Yeah, yeah. So tell me, like, what is the coolest thing that you feel like you've been able to do with that?
I think the most meaningful thing was the restaurant being able to look at their food cost and then have it upload into the menu, uploading that information, and then it did take some back and forth of letting it know, you know, that um, this is what this no I tell me more about this. Like it'll give you an output and you're like, yeah, that's close to what I'm asking for, but and you queue it a little bit more. But it gave a recommendation of items to remove from the menu so that they could make more money in their business. And restaurants have such a high closure rate. And so being able to help businesses at this time, I think that's the most meaningful. So I think that's my aha moment. The rest of it, some of it is just play for me. Like I think it's really cool that I can say, you know, create a bumblebee that's on a motorcycle, like, and then make a video for me. That's cool. But I think the meaningful piece of this for
Okay, so hold
us.
on, go back to the
Sure.
Bumblebee video thing because we didn't talk about how you can do that yet. So how can you do a Bumblebee on a
So
motorcycle?
there are lots of different AI programs. You've got Dolly, you've got Microsoft is coming up with a designer. And then you'll be able to queue it and say, you know, I need an image of we'll just use a bumblebee. A bumblebee flying over a business. You know what I mean? Like I know that sounds stupid, but and it'll come up with different like AI artificial images for it, which can be fun if you're doing a promotion or something like that. I haven't quite figured out how to. It seems a little far out there for a lot of what we do as a chamber. My son, I have a teenager that's a senior in high school. He seems to like playing with that stuff a little bit more than I do. But I think that you hit on something that I kind of want to backtrack to is that on some level we still have to have the human interaction with it. At some level, I need to be able to have an idea to start with. It has to come from somewhere in me. Like, yeah, I could cue like give me 10 general posts based on the news of this week that's trending and have it generate something that's kind of far off. But if we're really trying to be brand specific, we need to be able to input that information to do that.
Sure, yeah, and that's one of the things. I know there's a lot of like ethical implications, you would say, or at least I get the ethical implications of it, but it's like any tool. I was trying to talk like math. If you're doing math back when you're in school, there's no calculator, and so I'm sure when calculators first came out, they're like, you can't use a
No,
calculator to
you'll
do
never
math.
learn.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the point is it's a tool that now like why would you why do you need to know that normal stuff is if you have the calculator you can do it, that's great. That's all you need is a professional in the environment. And this is kind of the same kind of thing in my opinion. There is some things that I have found that with it though that you know, just listen to some podcasts and video stuff that does raise some ethical questions, kind of like the stuff that they're sourcing. So basically what they do is they open up the internet, they source like all human existence of knowledge, and then they spit out answers. But some of that is, you know, stuff that people have created. So you mentioned like those pictures, right? So they take pictures, they take the whole body of pictures, and then they create something, but they use other
Like a
people's
puzzle piece. Yeah.
ideas or pictures in order to put that into play. Is that an infringement on copyright? Is that taking other people's ideas. So there is some questions when it comes to that, but I guess
I absolutely agree, and neither one of us are attorneys, so like I don't want to like say one way or the other. But my son's an artist, and that was his original concern, is that the art that you're putting on the internet, is it now available for everybody? And there are pending lawsuits right now for art. As far as the wording goes, if you're queuing correctly and asking for the language to be like, you could upload like emails or emails that you've done previously. You could say, this is 3 emails I sent this week. Create an email in my voice saying that whatever, reach a solution for whatever the project is, and it will use your language to recreate that. So while I'm not as worried about the speech piece of it, but the art piece of it, it's certainly, yeah, we really don't use a lot of the art AI generated stuff.
Yeah, I will say that I have, and that's just something that you mentioned, playing around with it. These are fun things to play around with. So I'd use the AI image generator. So the one that I was using is called Midjourney, and it's like
That's a good one.
Yeah, like you mentioned, you prompt what you want to see in there. So let's just say what's some of the interesting ones? Like when I was looking at it when they're doing it, it was like changing Darth Vader into doing something different than what he would normally do, or I mean,
Darth Vader drinking coffee.
yeah, Darth Vader playing golf, or you can have all sorts of stuff in there. And really, you prompt it, and then it will give you like 4 different versions of it that it thinks might be cool, and then it plays it that way. I've used it for some of the clients that we do. One of the clients that we work with is a paintball company, and so you spit in there like, hey, make a cool looking paintball post, and then it had these really cool images of paint and them playing paintball and stuff. I don't know if because I don't do the actual posting. It's one of my team. So I don't know if we actually use that on their profile, but the stuff that it came up with was super cool.
Have you used it for portraits, like for professional portraits?
No, so elaborate how I would use it for professional
So in
portraits.
the same sense, you would take several, I think like 5 pictures of yourself, right? In different angles, so it gets a good idea of what you look like. And then you can upload it, I think in Midjourney. I think if not, it's for Dolly. And you can upload it, and then it'll change the background, and it will you can change your clothes, or if you have a hat or anything like that, you can, it's crazy. You can be outside, you can be inside.
Okay, so I did one. So that was how I first got into it, right? I saw some people post. This is how I first got into AI. I saw some people posting on Instagram their little AI representations and stuff. And so there was a thing on mobile called Lensa. And then I put in some pictures and asked for like 10 pictures or something. So I put in 10 pictures of myself, and then it created 100 different images. But it wasn't like portraits, I would say. It was more like some of them are portraits, but it was like a list of characters. So I think the first 20 was like superhero themed. The next 20 was like anime themed.
That's cool.
The next 20 was like just like like country western maybe, or no, there was one like outer space kind of stuff. And so they gave you 100 different versions of it. And so some of them looked really cool. Some of them I looked like very distorted, but it was definitely an
I need to see
eye-opening.
those photos. Did you post those online?
I did, yeah.
Oh, I'll have to go back. That's fun.
Yeah, I posted the good ones though. I didn't post the distorted ones. So
The ones where it makes you look like an alien or a creature, or
the ones
those
where it
things.
makes me look super handsome and
No, yeah, 100%. I think that it's a lot of fun to mess around with, and I think on some level, like for those that are interested in getting started with AI, I think some of it comes down to playing with it, and having just an experience like you did, like experimenting with different pieces of it. There are lots of studies that say that those of us that use social media are better at social media marketing because we're using it for our personal lives. We know how it works. We know what the intention of the different applications are. And I would say that this is the same thing. If you're using it in your personal life to play with in a more passive way, then you'll be better prepared when you start to integrate that into your business practices.
cool. So let's talk about how you play with it. So give me some things that you've done when you've played with it.
And so, I mean, yeah, like what you're talking about is like the AI generation of the photos. I had I work with high school students. I don't know if your chamber works with high school students, but they've been a great source of, I think, respite from normal, like everyday chamber life sometimes. And so what we did is we rewrote the cup song. Do you know the cup song from okay, anyway. We rewrote a song using Skills USA, which is their organization, and we made the lyrics change from the song to promote their organization, and then they did a video doing the song and singing the song. So
Cool.
like that's kind of like still like in line kind of with what we're doing, but it's certainly like in my chamber CEO like this is what I do biography. It's not rewriting songs, or songwriting isn't in there typically.
So just how you did that. So you copied the lyrics from the song, you put it in the AI, you
No,
said, no?
no. All I had to do is go into ChatGPT. I
Uh,
queued it. Write a song to the lyrics of Anna McKendrick's Cup song, and using information about Skills USA, highlighting the strengths and leadership practices that they do, and then they it just generated, and the first try wasn't great, so then
uh,
you just regenerate. Like I just did a total like regeneration, and then the second version it came out much better. So it's just it was just a fun thing that we did with the students to try to get them to know how to use it and to play around with it, and the kids have had a really good time doing it.
okay, and then I know what you mean when you say regenerated, but what does it mean when you regenerate something?
It's just a refresh. It's got the little refresh, like two half circles and the
Uh,
two arrows. And it's so funny because we use this in everyday language, but sometimes it's hard to dumb it down. I don't know. It's that little half circle thing, and you click on it, and then what it does is it kind of gets the idea of, hey, this isn't what you wanted. Let me try again, and it'll give you a new, fresh response.
Awesome, cool. Yeah, I think so one of the things that I've been doing playing with is so I've had this idea to write a book, like a fiction book for a long time, but it was like never something that I explored. So I started doing that, and I started using ChatGPT to kind of write that book. And the book, well, the idea that I had was like from years ago, right? So like it was geocaching, and I've only done that a few times, but I was like, it just had an idea for a book. You know what
I
geocaching is?
didn't know you geocache. I geocache. It's super fun. Do you guys
Okay,
use it in your chamber? Have you done a geocaching
geocaching?
event?
No, no.
So a chamber friend of mine in Berea, Kentucky, they have a huge regional geocache, and they make like the nice silver pins, like the collector pins
Okay.
that they give out for it. Anyway, I digress, but that's a cool
Well,
thing.
then you would love my book. So my book is about a geocaching tournament that turns deadly, you know. So I put this so I put this ideas to it together, and I mean it is remarkably good when I was just like putting it together. But it's not like I just say, hey, write a book about a geocaching. It's like you like you mentioned, you're putting the ideas in there, you're putting the thoughts in there, but then it like fleshes out those thoughts. So like as an example, I put in like I want to, so the start of the book, I want it to be like a hard to find geocache somewhere in like some historical area. And that's kind of how I prompted. So like something historical, something cool, something unique, something hard to get to. And so it put it on this like Spanish fort that was built in the 1400s, and that it was they traveled there to go find it. So it chose a little like hard to find spot that was like had some historical significance and how to get there and that kind of thing. So it was, and then you can just kind of follow along that, and it'll prompt some things that don't make sense or that aren't
Right.
good, so you take those
Some
out.
really crazy things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But it's definitely a fun thing to play with, but that is just like playing with it. It's not like I'm planning on doing anything with it. It was
But
just
you might do something like knowing that how to cue it. That practice and play that you're doing for your book could equate to you being more productive of it. Like if your board asks you to write a summary or a story about what your chamber has been doing over the last 10 years, this you could input your goals and everything that you guys have done, and you could come up with a decent story.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what we've been using it for. So grant proposals, we submit
Yep.
proposals for grants, and so we kind of put the thoughts and ideas in there. What I get asked to do a lot of recommend letters of recommendation, and before
Yep.
those would take a lot of time because you want to make them look good and put them together. And now I put in my thoughts about this person, and it pops out something really good, you know. So I make people look good in that sense. But it's the still the ideas that I'm putting in there. So let's go to chamber stuff. Chamber,
Sure.
how can we use this, or what is the big takeaway for chambers of commerce or for people in our roles where we're the CEOs or presidents or executive directors of a chamber?
I think we're still trying to figure that out. And I think having conversations with other chambers has really kind of helped us flesh that out a little bit more. But I think the most important thing is that we have an inventory of the tools available to our businesses. So when a new business comes in, or somebody even that has a business idea comes in, we can say, let's put the metrics that you're talking about into ChatGPT and come up and see what some ideas are. What I'd like to see, and I don't know because I know ChatGPT 4 just rolled out and it does some image analyzation. I haven't really played with that. I think it just came out like Tuesday. I haven't really played with that too much, but wouldn't it be cool, like in your downtown, if you could upload metrics about your downtown and maybe your demographics? Wouldn't it be cool if we could take pictures of like buildings that are empty and say, what are some ideas for a business in this location that would thrive in this community with these demographics? So I think we could do a lot of like DRI, downtown revitalization, is huge right now. I think we all struggle with that in every community that we're a part of. And so if we could help, especially in those smaller businesses, I think larger businesses are going to figure this out. I genuinely do. And they have the staff, they have the time, they have the money to put behind training. But I think it's going to be the mom and pops businesses, the two employer businesses that are going to need support during this time.
Cool. And we can play that role, right?
Yeah, I
Of
think so. I mean, hopefully we already are. Like, hopefully the chamber people that are listening to this now are already, in it to win it with their business owners. But I think that this is just an extra tool.
Yeah, and I'll tell you the thing that I got into social media marketing, I will say early on, but it was years into it. It was years into social media had started. I was like definitely an anti social media person for the first couple of
You're a
years.
convert.
Yeah, for sure. Once I kind of grasped the cultural changing significance of that it's something that wasn't going away, how people were like being influenced by it, how people were making their decisions based off of their social media pages, and that's only exacerbated over time. And so this one is for me, and I mean it came out in like November, I want to say. When did it actually start,
I
the
think
chat
it actually
GPT?
like September, but it really
Okay.
launched in like January. I think right around January was a major update, and it just got a lot of like playtime like on TikTok and Reels and all of the social media.
Yeah, and I do know that it's the fastest growing, or like the highest number of users, the fastest in the history
Yeah.
of whatever. So it's something that will be around, and once you use it, and so if you haven't used it yet, you use it, you can see right away that it's one of my favorite things to do. Is I was actually at a board retreat for I'm on the foundation board for Chaffey College. And I went to a board retreat, and we were sitting there. It was like a break, and I'm talking to guys. I'm like, "Hey, have you ever used this thing before?" I was like, tell me one of your problems. What's a problem you're facing in your
I
business?
love that.
And his problem was like a hazard. He was having a hazard safety protocol. So he's like, looking for safety. He runs a steel manufacturing firm. And so I typed in this prompt, and then I just like watching their face when it like spits it out, because he's just like, oh, like you can see his like eyebrows rouse up, and he's just kind of like, oh, well, that's interesting. And then as he's like, that's crazy. And that like my first thought when I was doing it was like, this is super scary because how the heck does it do that? But as you use it more, you start and study up on it a little bit. It's not thinking yet, but you can see how it could get that way.
Yeah, I can see how I can see things that could be dangerous. And so far it seems to be controlled, at least as far as I know. But I could see like if it started cueing like political positioning in the its responses, or if it started cueing issues like having problems with diversity and like and something like racial divide or something like that. I could see some of that being a problem. That hasn't been a problem. Like you're I'm just thinking that if it's pulling all the information from the internet, it's pulling the good and the bad from the internet. And so far it seems to have filters within it that doesn't let it answer dangerous questions. And I think that's a really good thing. But I think that it's kind of scary, but I had a therapist in here yesterday. We were talking about mental health, and she was like, I don't want to use this. Like, this isn't something I think I'll ever use. And I'm kind of like, get on board. Like, everybody's gonna be using something like this. And I was like, she was like, but that's why I went to college, was to know how to diagnose things. And I was like, so don't use it for that. But maybe if you have a complex case, you could upload information about it and have it just check your work. And I was like, it's no different than calling another doctor and getting a second opinion. I mean, ChatGPT just passed the bar exam, like 90%. Like, so like I don't think that there's anything wrong with uploading it and kind of saying, have I missed something? And
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
but do I want it to be my doctor? No. I mean, I don't want it to be my doctor or my veterinarian. I don't want it to do those things, but could professionals use it to create policies, like you said, to create business plans or to create even HR policies? Like I think that it gives great ideas as far as that goes. And you can, if it comes off harsh in its response, you can say soften the approach and give me another output, and it'll give you a more humanized approach to that, or say that we'd like to do it with a more modern touch to it. It'll give you ideas to do that too. It's really cool. I really like it.
Yeah, and so I've been using, so you and I talked before we got on the phone and or before we got on this call together. And one of the things that I started doing immediately was, so in my business, I also run a chamber, but this is where like I have like an I'm not quite sure how to work this out yet, but I think I have a good plan for both the chamber and my business. But in my business, I try not to meld the two, and so it's an online marketing business, but I do have a business consulting side of that. So I do business consulting for businesses. So I started doing this thing. I call it Blow Your Mind Business Consulting, and essentially I'll get together with one of these businesses and I asked them to do a couple of things. I asked them to bring 2 or 3 challenges that they're facing in their business, and then bring 2 or 3 like opportunities that you wish you could have explored, but you haven't explored yet because you don't have the time. And then in 30 minutes, I've done this a handful of times. In 30 minutes, I'll be able to put together like a 30-page document. My team and I kind of fluff it up and make it look good, but it's a 30-page document full of like solving all of their problems, and it legitimately solves all of their problems, gives them a game plan for moving forward. And then like it creates those prompts for opportunities. What are those things for opportunities they have? So that's one of the things that I'm super excited about, because it allows me to help like directly help businesses. And these are things like you mentioned, process and procedures. Just from running my own business, I know that those things take years to like actually be able to sit and write down, because you're so busy doing the day-to-day stuff, you don't ever get a chance to do that. And in seconds, we're able to put those processes, like put the process that you have in your head down on paper, and now it's there forever. And I sat with my board chair yesterday, because that's how I have a plan for how I want to do it in the chamber. I'm not sure. I got to talk with my board first before I unveil that. But and he was like having this issue. He's like, I want to have a process for like, how do I deal with clients based off of their. He's a financial advisor, so he's got like the top end his ones that he has to really go after and make sure that he's taking good care of. There's ones that are kind of in the middle of the road, and there's ones that he doesn't need to spend as much time on. So he's like, how do I create that process together so that I can make sure that I'm taking care of all these elements? And so I put that together for him in seconds. He's like, Zeb, this would have taken me like months to put together, and we did it in seconds. So that's the cool thing that I think that this is opening up for chambers of commerce to be kind of the guiders of how businesses can use it to help make sure that their businesses stay competitive.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. Yeah. I mean, we need to be able to see what's ahead of us so that we don't get blindsided by something. And our competitors are going to be using this. So we need to make sure that we're armed and comfortable with the tools too.
Yeah, and I'll backtrack a little bit. So I talked about the social media marketing side of things, right? So I got in that, and I wrote so early on in my career doing this, I wrote a book called The Social Golf Course. It was about how to do social media marketing for golf courses, because that was like my niche, right? I was doing a lot of social media marketing for golf courses, and one of the challenges that I had, and it was very difficult to overcome with, like, I'll say the older generation, because none of them wanted to do social media. They thought it was stupid and they hated it and they didn't want to do it. And so, but I was trying to articulate that this is like, you have to be doing
You have
these
to.
things, because this is, if you're not doing it, you're going to be losing market share, or whatever you want to call it. You're going to be
Yeah.
losing business because you're not doing that kind of stuff. And that's what I was kind of like going on a crusade to help that golf industry. And this is the same exact thing. So actually, that's one of the reasons why I got involved and why I ended up taking the chamber, because I was like, if I could run an organization and just leverage the tools that are there to make this organization successful. And so one of the main reasons why I feel like our chamber has been as successful as it has, or how it's grown over the years, is just because of my inclination to use social media and digital marketing
Yeah.
to bring in people that would not have been affiliated with the chamber, but are so now. And this is another wave of that. This is another thing that, if you're not using it, and one more thought was, that was the issue with chambers of commerce too. When I
Yeah.
and we probably know this, I feel like the
The
environment
models
has
changed.
changed a lot,
Yeah.
because now social media is so prevalent that chambers, like, it's obvious that chambers have to do it. And so those are the folks that are running chambers now, are people who are pretty savvy when it comes to social marketing. But it wasn't that case when I first got involved in the chamber world, and all the people that I knew that were running chambers were folks that were not that way at all. They were kind
Right.
of old school marketing folks. And now it seems like that's changed drastically, where the folks that are running chambers of commerce are the socially savvy folks. And I feel like this is one of those things where the folks that are running chambers are going to be the ones that can utilize AI and utilize it appropriately.
Yeah, and I think if we can get the processes down and it cuts back the amount of time that we're spending on each project, then we can do more, right? Like that's my main goal is I am an idea person. I like to take on more things. I want to be able to succeed at what I'm doing in a timely way so I can do something else. Like that's what I want to be able to do. Finish it up, move on.
Yeah.
And this lets you do that.
Absolutely. So let's do one big takeaway for you. Give me your biggest insight when it comes to this. What's one piece of advice you want to give to our fellow chamber presidents or CEOs?
So I think the biggest thing that I can say is use it. Use it in your personal life, use it, however you would do it naturally. Because you're more inclined to use it in your professional life. If I'm only using it for an hour a week, it'll take me forever to learn what I'm doing. But if I'm integrating it into like my daily existence, it's a lot easier to pick up. And then when new things come out, most of the time they're based on something that you've done previous. So it's close. Jasper's close to ChatGPT. Dolly is close to other image AIs. You just get used to the way that it feels. And so if you're using it naturally in your day to day, then you'll be able to use it more impressively in your professional.
Awesome. Yeah, and I will kind of echo that. I feel like it's really easy to discredit it, to say I'm not going to use that. And it's what's funny is so I've already started, like, when I was doing social media, and this is my thought when I was doing the social media stuff, and my big vision for what I wanted to do locally was, if I was like the driver of social media usage of businesses in my community, then my community would be better off for it, because they're going to show up higher in search engines. They're going to have more people connected with them, and those people are going to get connected with each other internally. So like if I got all of our businesses, so let's say in our chamber we have 500 businesses. If I got all of them using social media, if I got all of them connecting with each other on social media, that's gonna draw business from our area, from outside of our area. It's just gonna encourage people to do business here locally. And if I'm the one that's kind of driving that ship, I feel like I'm gonna be in a good spot professionally, develop wise. And this is the same kind of way where I feel like if we're responsible for the business growth in our community, that we have to be working with businesses to train them on how to use this, and encourage them to use it, because if they don't, our community will be behind the 8 ball.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think, having ongoing conversations like this, like we just had a major update this week. This is ever changing. So if we can continue the conversations and bring more people in, and again, like don't be afraid to reach out to one of the chambers that are using it. Like, we're not gatekeeping information. Like, I'd love to talk about this. I'd be happy to work with any chamber that wanted to work with us.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah, and I brought it up to my staff, right? And what's interesting, or what I feel is interesting, is they were at the start, they're kind of mocking me for going down this road, and then some of them were like, yeah, I just don't want to use it, But I'm like, as an organization, we need to be using this thing. But then over the last couple of weeks, there's like little things that they've been using it for in their personal lives. Like one of my members was telling me how she apparently they play Dungeons and Dragons, so she would use it as a prompt
As character creation.
Yeah, I've never done that, so I don't know how it works, but I just know that there's applications there, so they were using it for that, which is said it worked really well.
Yeah, it basically is like writing a story. So they create their characters, and then they can create the backstories, and it auto generates. So they have some control over it, but it's basically building a story, and it's super cool. I know people that use it like that too. I don't play Dungeons and Dragons, but I do know other people that do, and they have a good time with AI utilization too. So yeah.
Yeah. Did I say so anyways, let's just recap this. I mean, I am totally happy to chat with any businesses about using it. I'm happy to do some kind of business consulting with it. But it does take time. And so that's one of the things where I want to, so anyways, I'll just work out on how to handle that. So I'm still figuring out how to how to work on that and be productive with all the stuff that we do have going on. But I'm more than happy to chat with any businesses about this, and any chambers about this. And I know that you articulated the same. So is there any last minute thoughts on your end?
No, I don't think so. Just I'm sorry if we overwhelmed you guys with lots of information. I feel like we covered we just idea dumped. This was definitely a chaotic idea dump on my part, I know. But we're really excited about the opportunities that this kind of brings to the table, and as we try to figure out how to hone it in so that we can teach businesses how to use it. There's going to be trial and error. So just be patient with yourself, be patient with us. But I promise you we'll all figure it out together.
All right. Sounds excellent. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.